If you've seen kombucha in the news lately, it was probably because a reporter was more or less calling it moonshine for hipsters and suggesting that if you drank it, you were basically drinking light beer. Well, in this video, I want to separate fact from fiction when it comes to the top 5 potential dangers of kombucha. And as a registered dietitian, I'm going to, of course, avoid the hysterical news reporting and just serve you up the facts. Let's go. So the number one issue that has damaged kombucha's health credentials in recent years are reports that can have a lot more alcohol in it than people think. With so many conflicting stories, our research team and I decided to do some digging. And like all our videos, you can find our studies and references in the description below. When it comes to commercial kombucha, the kind you buy in a store, here are the simple facts we found. So yes, commercial kombucha does contain some alcohol. But in order to be sold to the public, it has to be less than 0.5% alcohol, meaning you'd have to drink 3 liters or nearly a gallon of kombucha to match the alcohol in just 1 bottle of beer. But with that said, there have been stories of commercial kombuchas being tested in laboratories for alcohol content and coming in at much higher numbers. The most noteworthy investigation occurred back in 2010 and was led by the FDA. It revealed over-the-counter brands ranged from 0.5 to 2.5% in alcohol content. And additional studies not long after this found similar results. This was the scandal of the decade in the fermented drinks world, our very own KombuchaGate. Some manufacturers were clearly understating their alcohol content, while others were shipping and storing it at room temperature because, well, it's cheaper. And in doing so, they failed to take into account bottled kombucha's amazing ability to continue fermenting after bottling, something that increases the level of alcohol. And with many manufacturers saving costs by shipping and storing at room temperature, this was a big deal. But just like Nixon, the controversial moment in kombucha history is largely a thing of the past. It seems the watchful eye of the FDA, along with threats of large fines, encourage manufacturers to modify their processes and prioritize refrigeration storage, thereby ensuring kombucha stays below the 0.5% alcohol from time of bottling through to expiration. And they even formed their own industry watchdog to police internally. The brewers must have been watching a lot of CSI in Miami because they decided to call their new organization, okay, wait for it, Kombucha Brewers International, or the KBI for short. Meanwhile, other manufacturers took the easy way out and they simply started pasteurizing their kombucha. This involves heating the kombucha to kill all bacteria and yeast and thus end the fermentation process. But with pasteurized kombucha, you're missing out on all the probiotic benefits of real kombucha. And although some companies do add probiotics back in after this process, they are more like a supplement and not the same as the probiotics made during the brewing process. Whichever brand you choose to buy, let's remember kombucha in all its forms is still a lot healthier than normal alcoholic beverages, not to mention the sugar-laden sodas. Okay, so we've covered commercial kombucha, but what about the alcohol content of homemade kombucha? Well, it depends on how long you ferment it, how much sugar you feed it, and what temperature it is kept at. More time, more sugar, and higher temperatures mean more fermentation, and thus higher alcohol levels. Generally speaking though, homemade kombucha will have a higher alcohol content than commercial kombucha, typically sitting between 1% to 3%. So to sum up here, there is some alcohol in kombucha, and it does vary a lot depending on all the factors we just looked at. But if it still remains a concern for you and you don't want to drink pasteurized kombucha, I have a geeky idea for you. Buy an alcohol measure. You can see them called hydrometers or refractometers. And they're actually really inexpensive pieces of equipment suitable for at-home testing purposes. I know whenever we find a new health food, our desire is to go full Cookie Monster on it so we can get more and more of the goodies inside. But drinking excessive amounts of kombucha can potentially cause some real problems. Let's take a look at some of the potential side effects. So the first one is abdominal discomfort, which can be in the form of bloating or diarrhea, or if you're really lucky, both. Kombucha can cause this feeling because it contains FODMAPs. Let's put the definition up on the screen. Simply put, FODMAPs are carbs that some people find hard to digest, such as people with irritable bowel syndrome. The main FODMAPs you'll find in kombucha are fructans, and some brands you'll also find sugar alcohols, which are used to flavor the kombucha. If this is a problem for you, then limit your kombucha to 6 ounces or 180 mils a day, since this has been measured as a low FODMAP serving size by Monash University. The next potential side effect of too much kombucha is tooth decay. This is an interesting one. You see, while kombucha doesn't have much sugar, it is filled with organic acids that protect the drink from spoilage. And these acids can potentially reduce enamel while increasing tooth sensitivity and discoloration. If this is something you're worried about, drinking your kombucha with a straw can make a really big difference. Now, there are many other potential side effects that people have claimed are due to excessive kombucha consumption, such as weight gain, headaches, and reflux. But when you dig into the claims, you quickly realize they're not really unique to kombucha. For example, yes, kombucha may cause reflux in some people due to the way the fizzy bubbles can create pressure on the gut, but so too can any other carbonated beverage. Meanwhile, we have seen more serious side effects of kombucha consumption mentioned in research papers, and you can see them on the screen now. Unfortunately, when you actually dig into the research, there is very little context around these claims, especially in terms of their connection to kombucha. Also, from what we could see, they tended to exclusively involve people with pre-existing conditions. So more research is needed to confirm if any of these are true risks of kombucha. What we can say though is that there are certain groups of people who should avoid kombucha, and we'll look at that next. But otherwise, for healthy individuals, we just couldn't find enough evidence to substantiate additional risks. And hey, we are here for the research, not for the fear-driven clicks. So if you're a healthy individual, kombucha is safe to drink in moderation. In fact, the CDC has confirmed this and stated 4 ounces or 120 mils enjoyed 1 to 3 times a day is fine. Sadly, for a few people, kombucha is probably going to be a bad idea, even if it is fermented by the angels. So if you fit into any of these groups, consider avoiding kombucha. First up, my pregnant and lactating mamas. If baby is on board or on breast, then kombucha is arguably a danger given the alcohol content and risk of pathogens such as Listeria. And of course, as a tea-based drink, there are small amounts of caffeine in kombucha, which is just another reason to hit the pause button for now. Next up, if you have histamine intolerance and have nightmares about being attacked by a bowl of histamine-laden sauerkraut, then add kombucha to your no list, as this fermented drink also contains histamines. Third, anyone suffering from a compromised immune system, for example, due to cancer, should also consider avoiding kombucha, as it has a potential, however low, of being contaminated by pathogenic microorganisms during the fermentation process. Fourth, those with an alcohol addiction should skip kombucha, especially homebrewed kombucha, as even trace amounts of alcohol can greatly disrupt the recovery journey. Lastly, any individual that has experienced kidney, lung, or liver disease, or are otherwise at greater risk of acidosis, should avoid kombucha. You see, acidosis is a condition where too much acid is in the blood. And given that kombucha can be quite acidic, the two don't go well together. In fact, the only death we could find possibly linked to kombucha involved a person with kidney disease who drank kombucha daily for 2 months, then developed severe acidosis and subsequently died from cardiac arrest. Thankfully, the CDC and FDA report from the 1995 investigation into the death concluded kombucha did not cause the severe illness. So if you ever see someone suggest kombucha consumption can be fatal, demand they show their research. If you're making kombucha at home or buying it from, say, the farmer's market, you should give a little thought to the risk of contamination, just like you would with any fresh food. For kombucha, contamination can come from three main sources. Firstly, poor handling of ingredients, especially the SCOBY. We're mainly talking about potential contaminants coming from unhygienic hands and nails here. So to avoid this risk, when brewing, pretend you're Dr. McDreamy in Grey's Anatomy and scrub your hands and nails like you're doing surgery. Contamination can also come from poorly cleaned equipment, meaning brewing jars or utensils that haven't been washed in boiling hot soapy water or haven't been washed for long enough. So once again, really let your inner clean freak out when you're brewing kombucha. The third source of contaminants comes from using unsafe equipment. This is really interesting and actually quite scary. So as we talked before, kombucha is really acidic, and it turns out if you brew it in certain containers, this acidity can cause chemicals and heavy metals to leach from the container itself. In fact, cases of lead poisoning have been reported when kombucha was brewed in a ceramic pot for over an extended period of time. Safe to say, stick to glass jars for all your kombucha brewing adventures. The other potential danger when making kombucha at home is mold. The most common types of mold found in kombucha are Aspergillus and Penicillium. And as toxins, they are obviously not good for our health and have been indeed found to create acute and long-term problems in people. To help you avoid this danger, here are my two big tips. First, check your SCOBY regularly for any signs of mold. Think dry, fuzzy patches, either blue, green, white, or black in color. And it kind of looks like this. Second, measure the pH of your kombucha regularly. Okay, so this one is worth explaining. You see, as kombucha brews over 1 to 3 weeks, the bacteria produce organic acids, which make the liquid more and more acidic. And these smart little guys do this because they know mold or other harmful pathogens can't survive in a highly acidic environment. In other words, the kombucha works to protect itself. Now you can actually measure the pH of your kombucha with pH strips. A lower pH level means more acidity, and so ideally your kombucha should start brewing at or under 4.5 pH and then drop further down to 2.5 to 3.5 pH over the brewing period. If you can see that, then your organic acid superheroes are doing their job and you likely don't have to worry about the potential danger of mold. In fact, I will quickly demonstrate this right now with some pH strips and my own home brew of kombucha. So my hands are clean. Here are the pH strips, and on the back is the code. We're just going to briefly take the lid off and put the strip in for about 15 seconds. And right now we're just gonna fast forward 15 seconds. And we are right around 3 to 4. So we're right in that perfect range. So now you've seen the real facts about kombucha, and weighing it all up, it doesn't look that scary. Particularly if you take into account all the potential health benefits of kombucha, which I discuss in the video above. And so for healthy people, 4 to 12 ounces a day, which is roughly 120 to 360 mils, is perfectly fine. Meanwhile, for those of you with IBS or those who experience some abdominal discomfort when drinking too much kombucha, limiting yourself to around 4 to 6 ounces or 120 to 180 mils a day can work. And of course, for those at-risk individuals we talked about before, kombucha does present some real risks, and it is worth avoiding. And for those of you who want to make it at home, just be sure to be extra hygienic to avoid the potential risk of contamination or mold growth. But at the same time, don't stress too much. After all, us humans have been making kombucha at home for centuries. Now that you feel confident about the safety of kombucha, you can either go out and buy some or make it at home. If you want to buy it but don't know which brands are best, check out our free kombucha comparison tool, which analyzes the quality of the top selling kombuchas including their probiotic count, sugar content, and more. It's in the link in the description below. Importantly, we have no affiliations with any of the kombucha brands, so it is 100% independent and should save you some time. And if you want to make your own kombucha at home, then check out our Ultimate Guide to Kombucha ebook. It's free, and the link is also in the description below. We have a question for you. Have you ever had a bad experience with kombucha? And if yes, what do you think triggered it? Leave a comment below and our research team will look at how it can inform our future research. And if you enjoyed this video as part of our fermented food series, I'd love for you to join our Essential Stacks community by clicking the subscribe button below. We research the most important ways you can improve your digestive health so you can love your gut again. Bye for now.